Good morning, dear students. After some days, I meet you again. Dear students, we are continue our class in this way. I think if you follow the class regularly, I believe you will be benefited. But you have to follow the class regularly and you have to practice every day at home. If you don't practice regularly, this type of grammatical activities will not be fruitful. So if you want to get a fruitful benefit or outcome, of course you have to practice regularly at home. I know it is very tough to pass this monotonous time because you cannot move here and there frequently and you are completely confined to your home. For that reason, sometimes your mind is wandering and you cannot concentrate on study, but you have to remember one thing. I told you almost in every classes that of course you have to remember one thing. You have to use time properly if you want to get the output or result or success. So don't think that we are getting some leisure time and we will pass our days motionlessly. No. Don't pass your time motionlessly. You have to use your time properly. If you can do this, I think you will get a benefit and this time will give you feedback. So try to exercise all the grammatical items at your home every day. If you feel any problem, of course, definitely you can communicate with us. We will try to solve your problem over any means. So try to communicate with us and try to be connected with the classes. In the last class, we were talking about comparison of adjective. That means, in short, we can say that it is degree. That means comparison of adjective is very important topic in your syllabus, and from the very early stage of your life, when you are a student of class 6 or 7, from that moment you have heard the name of comparison of adjective or degree. You know, you can categorize this adjective into three parts, and they are positive, comparative and superlative. I told you in the last class that how you will change or interchange the categories from positive to comparative, comparative to positive, or superlative to positive, like that. And dear students, I just want to recall you, I just want to just show you some easiest way to remember this very well. And you have to think in this way that there are some structures. If you follow the structure, it will be very easy to remember all the characteristics, and remember it very easily to transform from one degree to another. Now, I am telling you about the easiest ways of comparison of adjective. You know, actually when you will transform or change from one degree to another, you have to rewind one thing, that we can compare between two things among many things. And actually in this way, when you will make any positive degree, first you have to know the degree comes from what type of degree, whether it is superlative or positive or comparative. If you find that it is from superlative, at that time you have to think superlative degree may be started with the or one of the. That means when you will get a superlative degree, just think whether it is used by using the or one of the. At the same time, if you get any comparative degree, you have to observe whether it is started, whether it is used than any other, than all other, or than most other. And if you get any positive degree, at the time you have to find out whether this positive degree is happened between only two fixed persons or two fixed things. If you get only two specific things or persons, of course the degree will be different, because there is no any other person except two people or things. So for that reason, we can change the degree in this way. If you want to make any positive degree, you can start the positive degree in this way. no other. very few. So positive degree will be started with no other or very few. So no other is a group and very few is another group. That means you are getting two types of degree started with no other or very few. That means if I ask you to make any positive degree, you may start with no other or very few. But you have to maintain a sequence. No other, there is a chain in no other or very few. If you get any degree, if you want to start any degree with no other, of course you have to follow this structure. For comparative, then any other, or superlative, you will find the. That means there is a change. No other than any other the. If the superlative degree started with the, of course you have to change the degree. If you want to make it comparative, you have to use than any other. Or if you want to make it positive, of course you have to use no other. And that means there is a change. No other than any other the. And if you have to start positive degree with very few, of course you have to maintain this chain. Very few, then most other, one of the. You have to remember this very easy structure. Just think. No other than any other the. No other for positive, then any other for comparative, and the for superlative. In the same way, very few for positive, then most other for comparative, and one of the for superlative. This structure, this is rhythmic, and you have to remember these things very easily. If you can remember these things, it will be very easy for you to transform any degree from another degree. That means, if any degree is started with than any other, for comparative, if I ask you to make it positive, of course you have to use no other, not very few. In the same way, if I ask you to make it superlative, you have to use the, not one of the, because in this group, if you have to change the degree, you have to follow the chain. That means one of the. Definitely, you have to make it comparative by using than most other, or positive, very few. Just think in this way. Now, the structure, the easiest structure for making any degree, follow. If I ask you to make any comparative degree, what will be the structure of the sentence? What will be the structure of the sentence? Comparative or superlative? If I ask you to make any comparative degree or superlative degree, the structure is very common. What is the structure? Actually, what type of structure of the sentence will be? Comparative or superlative? The structure will be like that. Subject plus verb plus degree plus than any other plus rest of the sentence. Same structure in case of for superlative degree. Same structure: subject plus verb plus the or one of the plus degree plus rest of the sentence. Just follow. If you can memorize only these 4 lines, it will be very easy for you to transform any degree from comparative or superlative or positive. The chain should be remembered very well. No other than any other the, very few. Then most other, one of the. That means you have to maintain the chain. If I ask you to make a comparative degree or superlative degree, the structure is same. That means both comparative and superlative degree starts with subject and verb. That means you have to find out the subject and verb. That means if I ask you to make any superlative degree from comparative degree, subject and verb will remain same. Subject and verb will remain same. Because for comparative and superlative degree, of course you have to maintain the same chain. What is that? Subject plus verb. For comparative degree, you are using at first subject and verb, and of course for superlative degree, you are using subject plus verb. And what is the next? For comparative degree, you will use comparative degree after verb. That means subject plus verb plus comparative degree. Then you have to use than any other, than most other. Because in comparative degree, it is a common requirement. What is that? Than. Than is a common requirement. So, than any other or than most other. I told you, my dear students, if you find any two specific people or person or things, of course that degree will be changed differently. Suppose Rohim is taller than Karim. That means you are finding here two specific people. For that reason, this degree will be changed differently. I will show you later about that. But right now, we are changing the degrees among many people or many things. Among many people or many things. In that respect, you can change the degree very easily if you follow these 4 lines. What are they? The chain and the chain. And if I ask you to make any comparative degree, of course you have to start the sentence with using subject and then verb. Then comparative degree. Then you have to use comparative degree. And after the comparative degree, of course you have to use than any other or than most other. When you will use than any other? If you find the group. When you will use than most other? If you find this group. So, than any other or than most other. And then you have to use the rest of the sentence. In the same way, if I ask you to make any superlative degree, for any superlative degree, at first you have to use subject, then verb. Subject and then verb. That means the structure, same structure for comparative and superlative degree. Subject plus verb. And after verb, in comparative degree, you are using comparative degree, comparative form of that degree. But in superlative degree, you have to use the or one of the after verb. Then superlative degree. Then superlative degree. And then the rest of the sentence. Suppose Rohim is the tallest boy in the class. Rohim is the tallest boy in the class. Definitely this is superlative degree. You are getting the superlative form. So it is superlative degree. If I ask you to make any comparative degree from superlative degree, that means I told you comparative and superlative, the structure are same. So if I ask you to make superlative degree, what will you do? Of course you have to use subject, then verb. That means the structure is same. Subject plus verb. Then you have to use comparative degree. What is the comparative form of tallest? Taller. Then you have to use than any other or than most other. Here the superlative degree started with the. That means you will find the group of than any other. You will find the group of than any other. That means Rohim is taller than any other. And rest of the sentence, boy in the class. Boy in the class. That means Rohim is taller than any other boy in the class. Just think, superlative and comparative degree, if you want to learn it very easily, of course you have to remember one thing, comparative and superlative degree, the structure is same. When you are asked to make superlative degree, you will use superlative form after verb. When you are asked to make comparative degree, you will use comparative form after verb. In this way, you can change this one. And in the respect for one of the, what will you do? If the sentence was like that, Rohim is one of the tallest boys in the class. Dear students, one thing is very important. When you will find this group, one of the very few, then most other, of course you have to use plural form of the noun. Of course you have to use plural form. And here the superlative degree is started with one of the. If I ask you to make any comparative degree from this category, what will you do? Subject, Rohim is, and you will use comparative form of the degree, taller than any other or most other. Definitely than most other, because we are finding here one of the. For one of the, you will use than most other, not than any other. So than most other, the rest of the sentence. Boys in the class. I think you are clear. I think you are clear. That means for comparative and superlative degree, for changing comparative to superlative or superlative to comparative, it is very easy. If you want to remember in this way, for comparative and superlative, very easy. Just say with me. For making comparative and superlative, the structure will be subject, verb, degree, extension. Subject, verb, degree, extension. That means for comparative degree, subject, verb, degree, extension. For superlative degree, subject, verb, degree, extension. It is very easy. And in this step, you have to remember one thing more. What is that? For comparative degree, for superlative degree, you are getting two special things. What is that? Then any other, then most other. And for superlative, then the or one of the. And definitely, if you find any degree in this group, that means the chain should be followed very strictly. Then any other, no other than any other the. Very few, one of the, then most other. Okay, dear students, now let me show you the nature of positive degree. Positive degree, the structure of positive degree is just like the reverse of comparative and superlative degree. The structure of positive degree is just like the reverse of comparative or superlative degree. That means for comparative and superlative degree, we are using subject and verb at first. But right now, for comparative degree, you are using no other or very few plus rest of the sentence. Here, dear students, I want to inform you, I am just writing here rest of the sentence. Most of the students make a common mistake. What is that? By telling object. Actually, object is different thing. It has a different definition. You should not call the rest of the sentence, or you should not remove the part which is started after verb as object, because after verb you may get complement, you may get extension, you may get object. It varies. I will tell you about it in detail later. But right now I would like to show you about I would like to write here the rest of the sentence. That means in the rest of the sentence, definitely here you may find object, you may find complement, you may find extension. So as a whole we can call it rest of the sentence. That means for making positive degree, at first you will write down no other, then very few, then rest of the sentence. Then verb plus so or as plus positive degree plus as plus subject. Actually here I should not write down here subject. actually this is not subject in this sentence, but for your better understand, I just write down here subject. Why? Because Rohim is the best boy in the class. Your brain is ready to accept here Rohim is a subject. If Rohim is used at the last part of the sentence, you will think that Rohim is a subject. So for your better understand, I am writing here subject and I am writing here rest of the sentence. Actually, subject is defined by its position, by its activities. For your betterment, I just write down here subject so that you can recognize it easily. And here, no other plus very few plus rest of the sentence plus verb plus so or as plus positive degree plus as plus subject. In this way, you can make positive degree. And if I want to give an example from comparative or superlative, if I repeat the sentence again, Rohim is the tallest boy in the class. If I ask you to make this sentence as positive, what will you do? Here you are getting D. That means you have to use the group of no other. That means no other. The rest of the sentence, boy in the class. Then verb here is, then as, and you have to use the positive form of tallest, tall, then as. That means you are using the positive form in between as and as. In between as and as. That means the positive form of the degree will be used within as and as. As tall as the subject here, Rohim. That means in the case of the, you are using no other. And if I just write down here one of the, what will you do? You have to use here very few. You have to use here very few. And the rest of the sentences will be remain same. And if I here use one of the, Rohim is one of the tallest boys. I told you that this group requires plural form. Very few boys in the class are, why? Because for very few we have to use plural form of the verb. No other boys in the class are as tall as Rohim. In this way, you can change the degrees. These are the easiest ways. You know, my dear students, I repeat you again, for changing or for transforming from positive to comparative or superlative, the easiest way is this. That means you have to follow the structure, you have to follow the chain, just like no other, then any other, the, very few, then most other, one of the. In this way the chain should be remembered, and then you have to remember the structure of comparative degree and superlative degree. I told you the comparative degree and the superlative degree, the structure is same, just you have to change the degree. For comparative or superlative degree, at first what are you doing? Subject plus verb plus degree. Subject plus verb plus degree. You are using than any other or than most other after comparative form. You are using the or one of the before superlative form, and the structure will be same. And for positive degree, what are you doing? You are using no other or very few. No other or very few. You are not actually given any option. That means you can choose either no other or very few. No, actually sentence or structure will require whether you will use no other or very few. That means, but the structure will remain same. You have to use plural form for very few, you have to use singular form for no other. But the structure for positive degree, no other plus extension or the rest of the sentence plus verb, you have to use positive form in between as and as, then Rohim, then subject. And for very few, you are using very few, the rest of the sentence plus verb definitely plural form, and the degree will remain like that. In this way, you can change positive, comparative and superlative form. Okay, then we want to focus on positive degree again if it happens between two specific things or people. Two specific things or people. Dear students, now we will focus on positive degree if it happens or takes place between two specific people or things. Rohim is taller than Karim. Just follow. This structure is completely different from other comparative form. Why? Because you are getting two specific persons, Rohim and Karim. There is no persons here. In this field, what will you do? You are not supposed to use no other or very few, because no other or very few mainly used for many people, many things. When we make any compare among many things, with many things, there are many people. At that time, you are supposed to use no other or very few. But when the degree takes place between two specific things or people, you are not supposed to use any other or most other. Not only that, you have to follow one thing again, that if the degree happens between two persons or things, in this case, you are not asked to make that degree superlative, because superlative degree may happen when at least three persons or things present. That means here you will get only two persons, Rohim and Karim. So here, if I ask you to make it positive form, this is comparative. If I ask you to make it positive form, you are not supposed to use no other or very few. What will you do? You will change the position. You will change the position. That means the position of the persons or things. The position of the persons or things, you have to change. That means in respect of subject, you have to change. You have to use Karim here, and definitely Rohim will be the last part of the sentence, Karim and Rohim, and verb will be used according to subject. Karim is, if I say tall, I told you positive degree happens in between as and as. So Karim is as tall as Rohim. If I make this statement in this way, the statement will be wrong. Why? Because here Rohim was taller, right? Just think, right now we are using Karim is as tall as Rohim. That means we are equalizing the quality, though Rohim was taller. If I use this positive degree in this way, we are equalizing the quality of Karim and Rohim. That is, it is wrong. It is wrong statement. What will you do then? For making the statement correct, you have to change the motion. How? If you find any affirmative form in this sector, you have to use negative form for changing the degree happened between two persons or things, for maintaining the meaning. That means you are not allowed to change the meaning. You are not allowed to change the meaning. But here we have already changed the meaning. In the given sentence, in that given sentence, Rohim was taller, but right now we are equalizing both Karim and Rohim. This statement is wrong. you have to make the statement, of course, correct. So in this sector, what will you do? You have to use a negative word, not. Karim is not. If you use here not, the meaning will not be changed. Karim is not as. My dear students, if you use any negative statement, you should use so in lieu of as. That means when you will use not, you should not use as. At that time you should use so. That means how will you change the degree? Karim is not so tall as Rahim. Karim is not so tall as Rahim. For not, we are using here so. So, why are you using not? Because the statement was in affirmative form. For remaining the meaning same, we are using not. If we don't use not, the meaning will be changed. For that reason, you have to use not. So, dear students, for comparison of adjective or degree, in this way, if you practice regularly, of course, you will get some exceptions when you will exercise, when you will find many sentences. Of course, definitely, you will find some exceptional sentences. If you find any exceptional sentences, or if you find any problem for changing the degrees, definitely you may contact with us. We will try to solve the problems over any means. So in this way you can change the degrees. And dear students, I would like to recap the class again for your better remember. I want to recap the class again. For changing degree or comparison of adjective, at first you have to think about the fundamental rules or fundamental things of degree. That means you are getting three kinds of degree: positive, comparative, superlative. In your examination, you will be asked to transform from positive to comparative, comparative in this way. If you are asked to change the form, at first you have to think whether you are asked to change, whether you are asked to make comparative or superlative. If I ask you to make comparative and superlative, the structure is very easy. What is that? You have to use at first subject then verb. For the case of comparative and superlative, subject then verb then degree. Subject verb degree. For comparative form, you have to use than any other or than most other after comparative degree. For superlative degree, you will use the or one of the before degree, and the rest of the sentence will be used after degree for comparative and superlative. If I ask you to make any positive degree, of course you have the structure will be like that: no other or very few, no other or very few plus the rest of the sentence, then subject, verb, and you have to use the positive degree in between as and as or so or as, then subject. In this way, you can change the degree. So, dear students, I think now you can change the degree by following this structure, by following these rules, by memorizing the things, and of course you have to realize the meaning of the sentence. It is very important. For changing the grammatical items, of course, the meaning is very important. You have to realize the meaning of the sentence. It is very important. So I just want to finish the class today. Dear students, before finishing the class, I would like to say you some important words as usual. Dear students, you have to stay at home for important purposes. If you are to go out, of course, don't forget to take preventive measures, because the whole world is really suffering from this type of situation. The situation is not our expected. We are not expecting this situation. Really, we are passing a very suffocating time. So try to save your family, try to save yourself and try to save the nation and follow the instructions given from health department. You are the asset of the future generation. The country is expecting many things from you. So you have to evaluate your life, you have to evaluate the country, you have to evaluate your family. So try to stay at home, and of course we will pray to the Almighty. Inshallah, we will find a very fine morning within a very short time. We have to be optimistic, we have to be hopeful, and we have to compete with the situation. It is the history of human civilization to take this position. Actually, in this, it is very true, and you have to accept that fighting with very adverse situation, we are like right now, we are in this position. So use the time properly, take care of yourself. It is true that we are missing you. We are missing you every day. Inshallah, we will meet you very soon. Dear students, thank you very much. Thank you.